You would have seen the media yesterday around Rocket Lab. Fantastic day. Just you don't really appreciate the vision of this young man until you get out there and see all the moving components together and watch all the the videos and see who's in the room. So he's got a lot of money behind him. He's got a lot of interest in becoming New Zealand becoming the 11th country to put satellites into space, and only the second individual company. Everyone else has been a country. The individual company to put rockets and satellites into space. So we had quite a few tourism people there, and the comments around the room, and look, there was 250 people in this huge rocket hangar having a cup of tea at the end out of the rain. Appalling day out there weather-wise. Is if it's done right, if the connection is made with the rest of the world on rocket timing, that sort of thing. Obviously they've got a fair few conventions, etc., to adhere to, international conventions around using the technology with all the other things that happen in the world at the moment. It could become the next Hobbiton in New Zealand and become Hawke's Bay's Hobbiton. So to put that in perspective, in excess of 400,000 people went through Hobbiton last year at a cost of $100 a head. I'm not saying that it's going to be quite that good up there, but if that's the same mentality and we can capture some of those opportunities for tourism, man, it's got to be good for this region. So the fact that they had Stephen Joyce and others there, but it was some of the other people in the room. Sir Michael Fahey, I mean, he's a landowner out there now, but hugely supportive. And the understated nature of Richard Beck has just got to be seen to be believed. I mean, the guy's amazing vision, stuck to his game plan, and he's going to get the job done. So I didn't put this in any report, but it'd be pretty special if this council had a huge contingent visible and present at the first launch, politicians and staff, because I don't think anyone knows fully how to capture the potential of this thing yet. And Mr. Beck, at the end of the day, just wants to launch satellites. He's not interested in the tourism stuff. Is great, but he doesn't want any of that getting in the way of his business of putting satellites into space. The other thought, that shone through yesterday, is the station, the Māori Incorporation out there, Onanui, have given them permission, consent pending, to build another couple of launch sites on the peninsula. And that's when the light bulbs started coming on for a few. So if you turned up for 3 launches in a day, all of a sudden you're starting to cook with gas. And once they get the safety margin down to 2.5 kilometres rather, you can actually, the viewing platform is up by the woolshed, huge area, amazing potential. So the station have put to their board that they wanted diversification 5 years ago. I don't think anyone in their wildest dreams dreamed of rocket launches being part of that process, but that was a great day, very good day. The other point, I've just been to the Resource Management Law Association conference in Nelson. It's the only conference I go to outside the LGNZ. I found it particularly useful of things around Ruataniwha and other some of the daily challenges we have as a council, and certainly I face as chair, just getting your head around some of the processes, etc. I just want to make one brief comment on one of the winners of the award was the Ruapehu wastewater scheme, which is, believe it or not, a discharge to multiple awa. But the process was done in full consultation with the local iwi, and they've got a fairly rock solid and bulletproof case to take through to consent, to get consented. And it was recognised for its, not just an inclusive process, but they really stretched each other in what could and couldn't be done as far as creating a discharge to waterways, multiple through a fixed wetland / ultraviolet treatment process. So it'll be interesting to see how the community takes that on board up there when it goes out to plan. But the interesting thing for me was, well, a woman I went to school with, actually, Anne-Marie Westcott, was the driving force behind it, and she's slowly becoming recognised as a force to be reckoned with in dealing with complex resource management matters around wastewater disposal. So she could be useful in this part of the world at some stage too, considering the Wairoa district consent expires in the next 3 years. So. Anyway, that's all I had to report. Feedlots, Councillor Belford.
Yes, I've had a bit of exchange via email with Ian about the feedlots down in Central Hawke's Bay and exactly what triggers those requiring or not requiring consents. And I have to confess, after all of that exchange, I still can't get my head around what exactly the requirements are or what triggers when a given feedlot requires a consent or when it does not, and who makes that determination, at whose initiative it happens, and so forth. So I thought I had applied myself to this pretty well, and then I read yesterday in social media that someone called up here and was told that our council is taking a zero-tolerance approach to non-complying feedlots next season. And I wondered, well, what does that mean? So I guess my question is that I think this is a significant issue of the day, and that it'll survive the outcome of the election, and that we deserve some more fulsome explanation of what exactly is the situation, who does what at what initiative here, or are we looking at a situation like finding stray boars around, Havelock North that we haven't been paying any attention to, where we should have been more proactive, perhaps. So I just think it's sitting there festering. We can produce video, photographs, day in, day out of pretty appalling conditions down there, and that's going to keep on going. It's just going to keep on going until we get some sense of what exactly is the regulatory situation. Can we have that, please, at some point?
I think that's been hammered.
Clarify, it's not just Central Hawke's Bay, feedlots are throughout the country.
Throughout the country. But point noted. Thank you, Councillor Belford. Panpack, Mr. Mohi.
Yes, where do I start here? The Panpack spent $20-odd million 3 or 4 years ago upgrading their one of their outlets. However, when it flowed out 400-odd metres to sea, it caused discoloration, and that was not because of the toxicity. It was just a quirk of, we'll say, nature, for want of a better word. Then and please pick me up, Ian, if I get this slightly out of order or wrong. I applied to the council for a permit to build a pipe a further 2 k's out to sea. The hearings committee sat, and they were granted that. Then it was appealed by the tangata whenua of Maunga Haruru, which is around the Tongaoio area, and then it went to the Environment Court. Now, the Environment Court, I sat there for 3.5 days as part of that, and gave some minor evidence, and then the judge suggested that they may be able to have a settlement out of court. The time for that has actually expired twice, and he's given them some more time. So we're sort of sitting there with 3 or 4 days left of that. In the meantime, the Panpack has got the current consent runs out on the 30th of June next year. So part of the process, Stephen Dayers is bringing all the interested parties, including Nikki, 4 tangata whenua groups who are actually landlords to Panpack, Forest and Bird, DOC, all the parties together. They came together yesterday afternoon and have agreed to meet once a month for the next 6 months to look at alternative measures to the sea discharge and come up hopefully with a consensus. Is that reasonably clear?
Kia ora. Thank you. And Councillor Dick Rail.
Asking the question of you and the Chief Executive, what do you know at this stage, Web?
Look, my understanding is that there's been agreement reached between Kiwi Rail and Napier Port, and that is subject to final board approval by Napier Port Board possibly this week, although Garth Cowie's actually out of the country this week. But I understand it may be going to the board this week, and once that's achieved, then there could be an announcement made.
Okay. Will you or the chairman stay on the case to try and get something out
Absolutely.
before
Definitely.
it becomes next term's history?
Definitely. Okay, so that's mine items. Thank you.
Just one more notice. QE2 are having their national conference in Napier, and I'm representing you all at drinks at 4 o'clock.
Was that today? Oh, it's on today? Oh, okay. Yeah, hope it's Thursday. Okay, so now we have 4 resolutions here to take us into public excluded. Is someone happy to move in that direction? Councillor Scott, seconded Councillor Pipe. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. Right, let's deal